I'm Miranda Simrie. I'm the Managing Director for CrowdInvest.
Okay, can you tell us a bit about CrowdInvest? What do you do?
CrowdInvest is a crowdsourced funding platform specifically for entrepreneurs. We try and facilitate much needed startup and seed capital for entrepreneurs.
Okay, and within CrowdInvest, what kind of responsibilities do you have?
I do the day-to-day operations of the company as well as the business development. So I actively try and source opportunities for the investors that we have registered on our platform to invest in.
Okay, and what's the general global climate like at the moment of startup companies funding?
Around the world, as in South Africa, startup capital remains a big challenge for most entrepreneurs. Traditionally, entrepreneurs have only had access to a limited number of funding sources, and what CrowdInvest and similar platforms try to do is to provide an alternative to entrepreneurs to raise funding.
And how would you rate South Africa as a global player in this arena?
South Africa is still very new to the concept of crowdfunding. CrowdInvest, in fact, was the first registered crowdsourced funding platform in the country. And we only went live in the beginning of December. So it's only really been 6 months for us. It's still very new. The concept is still very new. And so we have found that it's taking us a while just to gain traction because of the fact that it's innovative and it's different, and that there is the need to do a whole lot of awareness raising and education.
Okay. And what factors do you think is pushing innovation as a business, as an investment opportunity?
I think that people are constantly looking for new things, new ideas, new concepts, and also the world demands it. The world is running at a pace that it never has been at before. And so we need to constantly innovate to be able to address the challenges that come up every day, particularly for the bulk of the world's population who live in abject poverty. Innovation becomes something that is important to address the challenges that come out of that subspace or subsector specifically. And so a lot of the innovation that we see happening these days are geared at addressing social and economic challenges.
On that note, do you think South Africa, I mean, along with India and China, maybe other companies like that, that South Africa would be a leader in this regard?
I think that we've seen a whole lot of brilliant ideas coming out of the country, a lot in terms of the health space, in terms of the green economy. So there's a whole lot of activity. I think that what we're struggling with is creating an enabling environment within which innovation can flourish and within which innovation can progress from mere idea phase to actual sustainable businesses.
What do you think are the main challenges that local companies face or local individuals face when they want to kind of push forward a new innovation?
When you look at the research will tell you that what entrepreneurs identify as their top challenges are access to finance, access to business skills, so managerial capability, and then networks and access to markets. So I think that when we look at the space of entrepreneurship and innovation within that space, we need to be addressing those key challenges so that we can ultimately provide an environment within which innovation and both entrepreneurship can flourish.
Can I ask you about the business model of your company? I mean, what the incentive is for a company like yours to go this route, to raise funding for innovators?
I think for us, certainly one of the opportunities is around being this connector between entrepreneurs and ordinary people who want to invest in businesses that they believe in. Thus far, that opportunity has not been available to South Africans, even though it started, around the world around 7 years or so ago. We're still very much behind that curve. So CrowdInvest sees this as an opportunity for us to play in a space that has thus far not been accessible or available even. And also, the one thing that we value is to be a partner in creating an entrepreneurship ecosystem that makes sense. So one within which entrepreneurs have access to a wide variety of opportunities, specifically when it comes to raising much needed seed capital.
Okay. And just on the actual business model, if you're okay to discuss this, I mean, do you, as a company like yourself, do you take a percentage ownership of the companies, or so? What are the mechanics on that?
Okay, how it works is that we agree with an entrepreneur what the investment target would be of the investment pitch. We do not take any upfront stake or an upfront cut of what they raise. Instead, when an entrepreneur raises 100% of the investment target, we'll take 5% of the money that they've raised. In instances where we facilitate an equity-based transaction, we'll also take an additional 2.5% in the SPV that we establish to manage the transaction.
Okay, fine. And track record, are you at a stage yet where you've actually followed through with any of these projects, or is it still early days?
As I mentioned, we launched in early December, so it's really been 6 months for us. We're at the stage now where we're trying actively to prove the concept, that it works in South Africa and that it is meeting a particular need. So as much as we think that it's a good idea and so on, we are actively trying to promote the idea. What we have seen is that there's definitely an appetite for it. We have about 300 registered potential investors on the site, and of those, about 60% have actively committed funding, have actively committed money to invest in projects and businesses that they believe in. So we do think that the concept is a good idea. We think that it has potential. Right now for us, the challenge is about finding good quality businesses for those investors to invest in.
What about government? What's your relationship with government? Any connection, communication?
We have good relationships with government insofar as we recognize government as a significant stakeholder within which an entrepreneurship ecosystem has to be built. Government doesn't have any stake in CrowdInvest. CrowdInvest is registered as a private company, but we do work closely with other role players and stakeholders, of which government is one, in trying to promote opportunities for entrepreneurs.
What's your criteria in terms of getting involved with an individual or a company? What are you looking for in that person?
We look for entrepreneurs who have potential. So we look for good ideas. So innovation is very important for us in that regard. We don't necessarily want to be funding, the next hairdresser or the next plumber, or services or businesses that are readily available. So we're actively trying to promote innovation in the kinds of businesses that we feature on the platform. So we're looking for entrepreneurs that have innovative ideas, that have innovative businesses, that are doing something exciting. Beyond that, we obviously look at the numbers, the feasibility of the business. Does it make sense for us to facilitate funding for the business? And then we look at the potential impact that the business will have, either economically or socially, or both.
Okay. And what range can you work within? I mean, would you consider somebody with just an eye? What range would you work with? Would you consider somebody just with an idea, or do they need a proof of concept? Do they need a business plan?
We'd like for them ideally to be beyond idea phase. So as much as we want to facilitate seed capital, we'd like for entrepreneurs to be beyond the phase where it's just an idea that they're talking about. We'd like for it to have some kind of proof of concept. However, if the entrepreneur has been running his or her business for a particular period of time and they have had some exposure and experience, if it's then a new idea, then it's something that we'll look at.
What advice do you have for people out there with ideas or concepts?
I think one of the key things is to, everybody thinks that they have a good idea, that their idea is the next great thing, and that their idea is different from what is out there currently. I think one of the first things that a potential entrepreneur should do is to look at what is currently out there, to look at the opportunity and to identify a niche within which to launch a new idea or concept. I think that there's a lot of stuff happening in the world right now. There's a lot happening in South Africa, and we certainly are interested in finding those entrepreneurs that come up with gems of ideas and promoting those. The other thing, obviously, is to look at what is the potential for implementing the idea. So as much as the idea may be a great idea, not all great ideas get implemented. And I think some businesses fall apart at exactly that point, where not every person who has a great idea can become an entrepreneur. And so maybe one of the key bits of advice that I could give is that it may make sense to partner with other people, and to play to your own strengths and find others who can augment your offering in, by the way that they partner with you and by the way that they can add to your business and to your concept.
Okay. And how do people, are you encouraging people to connect with you? I mean, is there a set way of presenting?
Absolutely. We have a website. Our website is crowdinvest.co.za. People can follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. And then pop us an email on info@crowdinvest.co.za. We'll happily engage and answer your questions, and evaluate your ideas for investment.
Okay, that's great, thanks.